Hi guys, welcome to Pennsylvania Day. That's state number 2 on our tour around the United States cooking. Today we're going to do Philly cheesesteaks. I had 7 people guess the right answer, so very good job. I thought it might be a little bit tougher, but you guys came through with some good answers. The main things to make a Philly cheesesteak are right here. You need bread, steak, and cheese. There's also lots of other things that can go in a Philly cheesesteak, including lots of different vegetables, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. So the first thing I'm going to do is get 2 different pans heated up with some oil in them. Decide to turn on. We'll go back here. There we go. All right. You need a couple tablespoons of oil in each one. You're probably going to need a little bit more oil for the vegetables because the vegetables are going to soak up the oil. The steak already has a lot of fat in it, so you don't really need as much oil in the steak pan. So Philly cheesesteaks, while these warm up, were invented in Philadelphia, and as the legend goes, there was a hot dog vendor who needed something new to make, and he decided to take some of the steak or the beef that he had from one of the butchers back then and create a sandwich out of that. So he put some beef on a hot dog bun, and a cab driver came by and smelled it and thought it smelled really good, so he wanted him to put that on the bun for him, and every day somebody new started trying it by word of mouth, and it became famous. So now we have what's called Philly cheesesteak. So that's why they're famous there. I don't know if the legend's true, but somehow they got started there, and that's why they have Philly cheesesteaks. All right, so we're warming up the oil for the steak. We're warming up the oil for the vegetables. I need to get some bread in the oven, and I'm going to use a really good bread. My biggest thing with Philly cheesesteaks or any sandwich is the quality of the bread. I am a big stickler with bread. I don't like Subway bread. I don't like Firehouse bread. It's too soft, kind of falls apart. I want a bread that's going to hold up to the sandwich. I like Penn Station bread. Jimmy John's does a pretty good job. So I try to find something that's not going to fall apart and be really soft. This one's kind of soft. It's the best I could find today. If there was something like a baguette that was wider, that's exactly the perfect bread for a Philly cheesesteak. But I'm going to toast this in the oven a little bit because I want it to firm up a little bit so it can hold on. So I've already cut it open with a serrated knife, and what I'm going to do is remove some of the bread from inside, because that's going to give me a place to put all my stuff, and it gets rid of a lot of the bread that might be filling instead of the really good filler. So I'm going to open up the bread like that, dig out one of the sides, and I'm going to butter it just a little bit so when I put it in the oven, it becomes really yummy on that top layer. It gives it a nice crust on it, gives it some flavor in it. All right, I'm going to put that in the oven at about 275 degrees, and it'll probably be ready when we're done making these cheesesteaks to use. It's just going to toast up. We don't want to cook the bread. We just want it to become a little toasty. The other thing I have is tons of different toppings, okay? Everybody in my family likes different toppings in their Philly cheesesteak, and I'm going to put all of these things in one or all of our cheesesteaks. There's 5 of us. The basis that you need is bell pepper, which is this red pepper right here, onion, and mushroom. Some people don't like mushroom, but bell pepper and onion are really the 2 biggest things that you're going to put in your Philly cheesesteak. If you just want steak and cheese, that's fine. But most people want bell pepper and onion in it. The other things we have over here are poblano pepper. It's kind of like bell pepper. It's a little bit stronger in flavor. It has a tiny bit of heat to it. We have Fresno chilies, red Fresno chilies. We have banana peppers, and we have jalapeno peppers. I'm probably the only one that likes jalapeno peppers. Now remember, peppers are hot based on the ribs on the inside and the seeds, okay? This part of the pepper is not hot. I can put that pepper up to my mouth, it doesn't taste like anything. It's the middle part that's hot. So if you have seeds and ribs like I do with the jalapenos, it's going to give it lots of heat, okay? You don't have to use any kind of heat if you don't want to. All right, our pans are probably pretty good to go. The first thing I'm going to fry up is the peppers. The peppers take longer than anything. So I'm going to put the peppers in the pan, get those sizzling away. Okay, in just a second I can put my mushrooms in there. I want to salt and pepper as we go to make sure everything's layered with flavor. Okay, let's talk about the steak for a minute. I bought steak at Giant Eagle. Okay, you can buy steak anywhere you want, but you want it to be super thin. And at Giant Eagle, they have super thin steak. They take ribeye or leftover strip steak and they'll shave it up as it gets ready to expire, and they shave it really thin. Okay, so it comes that thin, and all I do is take it out and chop it up, which is what I've done here. Okay, and I'm going to put that in the pan by itself because not everybody wants the same vegetables, so I'll have steak available for itself. All right, so I'm going to come over here, my vegetables, and I'm going to add the mushrooms. I'm making mollies, so I'm going to add mushrooms and onions. Okay, we haven't talked about white vegetables yet. We have 2 white vegetables today. Remember, all vegetables are good for you for different reasons. They all have a different vitamins made up in it and different things for health benefits. White is something we haven't talked about lately, and I have 2 white vegetables here today. I've got mushrooms. Mushrooms are really, really good for your immune system. They fight cancer, they fight cholesterol, they fight blood pressure. Mushrooms are one of the healthiest things you can eat, and you take them right out of the ground, wash them off, and you're ready to eat them. We don't do anything to mushrooms except eat what comes straight from the ground. Sometimes with other vegetables, you peel them, or you take the roots off, or the leaves off. Mushrooms come straight from the ground, and you get every single part of them. The other one is onions. White onions have a lot of vitamin C in it. Vitamin C goes a long way for your immune system, helps you to fight colds and stuff that you can get every day. Kind of like oranges and citrus fruit, onions have a lot of vitamin C. Our vegetables are going to take a lot longer to cook than our steak. Okay, the steak is really thin. We don't want to overcook our steak. So I'm going to let these vegetables get going long before I put in my steak. Okay, I'm going to salt and pepper these again because I didn't do it with the mushrooms and the onions. All right, let those sit in there and get happy together. All right, now I can come over to my steak. I've got a little bit of oil in here for my steak, and I just want to take enough steak for one sandwich, okay? You'll see it start sizzling up. Now, the things I've added to the steak, I have salt and pepper in here, I have garlic salt, and I have a little Monterey steak seasoning. I'll show you what that is. This is steak seasoning. You can get that anywhere. You don't really have to use anything you don't want to. If you just want to use salt and pepper for your steak, that's fine too. Okay? I like to cut it up before I put it in the pan as best I can because otherwise you're going to cut the bottom of your pan. As soon as the steak gets worked on, I'm going to put the cheese on it. Now let's talk about the cheese for a second. I have 2 different cheeses over here. I have provolone, which is what I'm going to use right now, and I have Velveeta. The reason I chose those cheeses, number 1, is because they melt really well. You want a cheese that's going to melt. You don't want to use something in here like a cheddar because it doesn't melt very well, and you want a Philly cheesesteak to be really melty. The other thing is I use Velveeta because traditionally with Philly steak and cheese in Philadelphia, they actually use canned yellow cheese, which I know seems weird, but that's what they use, is that spreadable canned cheese. And the closest thing you can find to that is Velveeta. Velveeta is probably the most melty cheese. You want to cut it up pretty good. You don't need a ton of it, and it melts into your steak really well. That's what I like on mine. Mrs. McLean and Molly like provolone, so I'm going to use provolone for theirs. But provolone works really well too because it's nice. It melts really good. Okay. All right. We'll keep working on these vegetables a little bit. Those look like they're cooking up pretty good. You want the peppers to cook down pretty good so you don't have these big giant bulky peppers in your steak and cheese. The mushrooms and onions are going to cook down pretty good on their own, but peppers take a little while. All right, my steak has lost its color. You see the red over here? Okay, it no longer has the red in here, so it's cooked. It didn't take very long at all. So now I can go ahead and add my cheese. A couple pieces of provolone. And you can watch how that melts down pretty quickly. Just set it on top, and the heat from the steak in the pan will melt that cheese down on it. And at the end, I'm going to add my peppers to it. Let's go ahead and, while that's melting, I'm going to go ahead and get my plate ready. I just bought regular potato chips. You can buy any kind of potato chips you want. Okay. You can make fries if you want. Potato chips are easier. And we've got pickles. I love me some pickles. All right, look how quickly our cheese melted. That provolone's ready to go. Just going to stir it up a little bit, and you can see that it's already melted enough to go on this sandwich. Okay, I'm going to stir my vegetables one more time. And then I'm going to get my bread out of the oven and start dressing it. All right, let's see how our bread's doing. It's perfect. Again, you don't want to cook this bread. Okay, if you get a little bit of tan on it, that's fine. But really, you just want to cook it enough to melt the butter. And this gave it a little bit of roughness to it, so it's not so tough. That way I can use this bread and it'll hold up really well on the plate. All right, the vegetables are pretty cooked. You can see the mushrooms are a lot smaller. You see the difference in the size of these mushrooms now? They went all the way down because what happened was a lot of the water left the mushrooms. Mushrooms have a ton of water. So all that moisture is leaving the mushroom. You can also see how the onions have cooked down. You want the onions to have been shrunken and have a little bit of color to them. Okay, now I'm just going to add this to the steak. Okay. I think we need another piece of cheese. Nothing wrong with that at all. Use as much cheese as you want. Stir this around, melt the cheese down. I like my cheesesteak ooey gooey. Cut that up and get it melted. All right. Hang it out here. We'll be ready to get our plate together. That's what's going in our sandwich. All right, turn the heat off. Try not to get the leftover oil in there in your sandwich. You don't want to make your sandwich soggy. All right. Again, you need a serrated knife. Philly cheesesteak. You're not going to find much better of a meal than that. Okay. I know we kind of got away from the healthy kick a little bit, but if you don't enjoy that, there's something wrong. Okay. Next time, we're going to keep moving north. Okay, so go to your map again, look at Philadelphia. What's north of that? Maybe a little bit northwest. Okay, because there's a lot of things north of Philadelphia, there's a lot of little states. We're going to go to kind of a bigger state, left, so northwest of Philadelphia. Now, you might already know which state I'm talking about, and if you do, that state's also famous for pizza, but that's in a specific city. We're not going to be in that city. We're going to a different city. So think about other big cities in that state, maybe kind of farther west. They're famous for something in particular, and we're going to make that thing next time. It's a finger food. That's the clue I'm going to give you. Okay, so do some research. Let's see if you can get it right. We'll do that later this week. Everybody got their dojo points that got it right today, and I'm really excited you guys are getting these right. So I'm going to try to make them a little bit harder. This one might be a little tougher, maybe not. Do some research. All right, go home, make a Philly cheesesteak. Best thing on earth. See you later.